China's second largest car dealer was expelled from the Shanghai Stock Exchange amid enormous losses. We're talking literally hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact, more than half of the car dealerships in China lost at least 100,000 US dollars in China. Now, many of these dealerships are pretty small. They're just small businesses, but they're losing enormous sums of money. Now, you can bet which ones are losing the most money. It's the dealerships where the cars aren't selling. And I'll tell you which ones those are. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Guys, just want to say a big shout out and thank you to the solar company that installed my solar system. And if you want to use them, of course, they're based in Australia. I'll put a link in the description. Anyhow, solar is huge in China. And it's in fact being installed more there than the rest of the world combined. It's moving into the future really fast. That means renewable energy. That means new electric cars. That means everything new technology you can imagine, guys. Well, I was just there recently. The technology there is moving so fast. I mean, China looks more modern than Western countries do. It really does. I'm not speaking for every part of China, but the main cities, things are changing so quickly. China is modernizing, and that comes to cars. More than 50% of the cars sold in China over the last few months have been NEVs, new energy vehicles. In other words, either EVs or plug-in hybrids. More than 50%. In fact, that number hit 55% in August. So what does that mean? Well, that means legacy automakers, car manufacturers, Ford, General Motors, Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, who actually now are bankrupt in China, Nissan, all these car manufacturers, the Volkswagen Group, manufacturers who used to be huge in China, even Porsche, all of them are in big trouble. And these are particularly the dealerships that are struggling. The ones where they sell predominantly internal combustion cars, doesn't matter if they've got a Mercedes badge on them, customers don't want them. That's the truth. That speaks for the numbers. The numbers really show you what has happened. And in fact, many of these dealerships are simply angry at the manufacturers. They're like, guys, you've known this was happening for years. You've known this and you did nothing about it. Porsche dealerships apparently have lost some of the most money out of any of them because, of course, Porsches, well, they only have one model of EV. Everything else is internal combustion, and people in China are just moving away from that completely. They're saying, well, if I spend a few $100,000 on this Porsche, what's it going to be worth in a few years' time when nobody wants it anymore? Now, I think a lot of people think if you buy a new Porsche, that it doesn't matter if it's internal combustion, it's going to be worth more in a few years' time. That's not the case. Have a look at Norway. I mean, Norway is now 95% electrification, right? People in Norway, they're also concerned if they buy an internal combustion car, it's going to lose its resale value to the order of 80+% over the next 5 or 10 years. Gas stations close. What do? What are you going to do? Install your own gas station at your house? Install your own petrol station at your house? So this is what's happening now. Chinese dealerships, there's evidence, right? Chinese dealerships lost an average of 1.1 million in the first half of 2024. That's RMB, but still, that's an average. And that shows you exactly what's going on. More than half of new car dealerships in China suffered losses in the first 6 months of the year. That's according to surveys from the China Automobile Dealers Association, as reported by Automotive News. Automotive News are a very well-respected global publication. This is not some sort of media beat-up. This is not some sort of rumors. It's actually supported with facts. The Chinese Automotive Trade Association said the proportion of unprofitable dealerships rose from 44% to more than 51% in the first half of 2024. The ongoing price war is the reason for the losses, they say. But the truth is, there's more to this. The truth is that there are millions and millions of cars in China that may never be sold. We're talking internal combustion cars. For example, the best-selling cars in China used to be the Nissan Sylphy. It's like a sedan, internal combustion. That used to be the best-selling car. There used to be the best-selling car, in fact, used to be a Buick sedan as well before that. And there was also a Volkswagen Jetta. That was the best-selling car for years. All those three models, as you can imagine, none of them are new model. None of them are like new EVs now. I think there's hybrid versions of them now. People aren't buying them. These are the kind of cars at dealerships that are gathering dust. It's not EVs. If you've got a good electric car, yeah, you can still sell it. The manufacturer might make a loss, but a dealership won't make a loss. The losses at the dealerships are occurring because those cars are sitting on the lots. EVs are selling better than they ever have, right? EV sales have grown by 23% this year in China. That means sales of internal combustion cars have contracted by at least that number because the automotive size of the industry isn't growing. It's staying at a similar size. In other words, the pie is the same size. EVs are taking a much bigger share of the pie. Therefore, of course, it makes sense. Internal combustion cars are sitting in dealer lots, not selling. And we believe there's actually millions and millions of them. Now, here's the thing. Despite steep price cuts, only 29% of dealerships that were surveyed actually achieved their sales targets. Now, some Chinese dealerships obviously are expanding, or some Chinese brands are expanding. Those brands, I believe, are likely to be successful. Zeekr, XPeng, many other brands as well, expanding overseas. That's a challenge to do that, but that will help their bottom lines. Now, here's the thing, guys. While it might sound not so bad that only 51% lost around 1.2 million RMB, that's only 141,000 US dollars, right? In 6 months. That means annualized, you're going to lose 280,000 US dollars in the year. And those losses could be worse in the second 6 months of the year, considering EVs were less popular in the first few months, right? The percentage of sales that were EVs and plug-in hybrids has gone up significantly. At the start of the year, it was 30%. Now it's 55%. So those losses could grow to well over an average of 282,000 US dollars per dealership. However, here's the thing. Only 35% of dealerships were actually profitable in China. Only 35%. 65%, well, 51% we know made a loss. And the other, 14% left over? They appear to have broken even, or maybe made some small loss, for example. So that means only 35% of dealerships are actually in a position where they might not go bankrupt. Now, we know that there was a couple of thousand dealerships that went bankrupt last year. So basically, you would have thought those couple of thousand dealerships that went bankrupt, okay, maybe they're the old legacy car manufacturers, but it doesn't appear that the problem has been fixed. And the key reason for that, have a look at it. Hyundai or Hyundai, they shut down their biggest factory in China. The biggest one. They only just built it. It cost them $1.2 billion. They only just built it. They're trying to sell it. No one wants to buy it, even for pennies on the dollar. I believe they ended up selling that factory for about $200 million when it cost them $1.2 billion to build it only 4 or 5 years ago. But there's many other factories, that are worse. Honda shutting down factories. Many legacy automakers shutting down factories. Mitsubishi going bankrupt. Jeep going bankrupt in China. The Chinese automotive industry is being disrupted. That's what's happening here. It's being disrupted by new car manufacturers, by Aeon, by many different EV brands, by Zeekr, Geely, the Geely Automotive Group. Their EV sales this year worldwide have grown by 101% at the expense of legacy automakers what do they keep saying? They keep saying people don't want to buy EVs. We're not going to make that many of them. We can't force people to buy them. But the truth is, people do want them. They just want good electric cars at reasonable prices. Chinese manufacturers are willing to sell those. They're willing to make them and sell them. They have the technology, and they're willing to do it at a price point that people can afford. Whereas these legacy automakers, one, they don't mass manufacture millions of electric cars like the Chinese do. So they can't make them at scale. They can't make a profit. Therefore, they're not willing to sell them at good prices. And in my opinion, that means legacy auto, most of them, are doomed. But let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching.